get us to 100K. Without further ado, we're going to have the guests introduce themselves. So please tell us your name, age, and occupation. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Keeko. I'm 23. I go to UCSB, and I also bartend.
I'm Allie, better known for Al Weezy. I'm 23 years old from Arizona, and I'm your certified
You're,
certified baddie.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah, talking to the mic, just so they can hear you.
Say your occupation one more time for us.
Just so they can.
My occupation is a certified bad.
Why does Keeko, the 23-year-old bartender, who looks like a sorority girl, if she isn't as we speak, have a vested interest in defending the 300-plus pound transgender identifying individual known as Gorlock the Destroyer? Under other circumstances, these people would seem like natural enemies. But why isn't that the case here? Let's dive right in.
Okay, it's the reunion. What do you guys have to say to each other?
You want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Is there anything you would have done differently in that scenario?
I wish I wouldn't have had to leave. I had to leave because I had made multiple comments beforehand. I was super late for work. No, I had said that multiple times. Let's not.
Stop the cap.
People even in the show had come and said that she did say multiple times that she had to leave for work. I was an hour late to work. I was supposed to leave by 10:30, and the show went on way longer than it was supposed to, so it seemed like a good moment to exit. I wish I would have been able to stay there longer, but no, I did not feel comfortable having a conversation like that with no trans people present at the table.
This is what academia has taught these modern women to do, to say, oh, I just didn't have anyone with lived experience as a trans person around, so I didn't feel qualified to talk about it. I didn't feel comfortable voicing my own opinion without a trans person there. It's really a nice little way for people who think like this to both virtue signal and then also act like they're actually getting all the facts because they're deferring to someone who has more knowledge on the subject than they are. It's totally fake.
You can have your personal opinion. If you don't want to sleep with a trans woman, that's your prerogative, that's fine, but don't declare your opinion as fact. If you think that if a man chooses to sleep with a trans woman is gay, so be it. That's your opinion. I have no problem with you having your own opinion, but you saying comments like that on a podcast with this many subscribers and viewers hinders men who are straight, because they do exist, who choose to sleep with trans women.
First of all, I don't even think Chase said that a man who chooses to do this is necessarily gay. I think he just said it was a gay act. Because a trans woman, so-called, is biologically male. Secondly, what is Keeko even saying here? Oh, you're totally allowed to have an opinion. Just don't tell anyone else. Just don't broadcast it. Just don't actually believe it and just say that my opinion's right for all intents and purposes when you're interacting with people who aren't part of a specific subgroup of people who think like you. This is a classic instance of the sort of shaming tactics that women will employ and use on men in order to browbeat them into agreeing with them. This is Keeko trying to exercise dominance over Chase. And just listen to what she's saying here. You saying that men having sex with biological men who identify as female is still gay anyway is hindering straight men from having sex with Gorlock. And then Gorlock gives a little snap like, yes, sis, go off. Because Chase's stated reason and basis for saying these things is his faith, is his religious outlook, which is still pretty basic and uninspired as far as biblical outlooks go, in my opinion. He's not saying anything that you wouldn't hear if you walked into your average conservative evangelical Protestant church. And even though Chase's stated opinion would have been considered absolutely and totally normal before 2016, and I would even bet you top dollar that Keeko didn't even believe what she's saying here in this video before 2018, Chase's opinions on this issue are still enough to set her off, because again, this is all about Keeko attempting to exercise dominance over Chase. This is how she has chosen to try and control and dominate Chase.
And if for you being some godly Christian man, I think you should learn how to keep your fucking mouth shut sometimes when it comes to those topics, because it's very hateful and hurtful. Just like how you've been giggling and sitting here across the table this whole time. If you were such a godly man who's returned his whole life around for God, you should learn for a little bit more acceptance and tolerance when it comes to these platforms.
Leftist atheists will always cry hypocrite. That's their go-to. That's their trump card. And even though Keeko professes to believe in the God of the Bible, which she obviously doesn't, she is taking a point from their playbook in accusing Chase of the same thing right here by saying, if you were really a godly man, you would agree with me on everything.
Honestly, truthfully, if you want to say that shit behind closed doors with your other little red pill friends, go ahead and do so. But just learn and recognize the platform you have and how much influence you have. There's already enough trans hate and crime out there. You don't need to influence it more, was my point. Thank you.
There's many things I could say in response to that.
Then say it.
Let me ask you this. Is God tolerant?
I think God made us all in his light. He didn't make any mistakes, right? So if he created trans people, then he did it for a reason.
Did he create trans people, or do trans people choose to be trans?
Go ahead. I feel like you're better off in this one. I would rather you respond.
Okay. I was raised Catholic, and then I converted to Christianity in middle school. In the Bible, it's mainly said, God does not give you more than what you can handle. She asked me earlier, when did you know? This shit was not a fucking choice for me. I can look you in the eye right now and say this was not a choice.
So you didn't choose to go on hormones? You don't.
I did.
You
No,
didn't choose.
I did,
Hold on.
however-
you didn't
Let
choose
her
to put a.
finish.
No.
No.
She
Please
said
let
her
her
piece,
finish.
and I'm going to ask a couple questions so that she can
really
clarify.
she didn't finish her statement.
I'm going to. I will let her finish, but I'm going to ask a couple questions so she can clarify. My questions are: you didn't choose to go on hormones. You don't choose to dress this way. You don't choose to identify as a woman. You don't choose to wear a weave. You don't choose to put on makeup and present yourself as a woman.
So it's the same way for you, though. It's like me asking you, like, oh, did you choose to wear that shirt today? Because to you, it's natural, right? It's 100% natural. Did you choose to get a fade? Of course, because, it looks good on you. That's you like. That's everything that you choose to do, everyday hygiene to you, that's your normal.
And yet nothing about Gorlock is normal. This is a massively overweight, transgender identifying person. God does not give a person more than they can reasonably handle, but all too frequently, people give in and choose to do the wrong thing anyway. They do this because they want to and not because it literally couldn't be any other way. And besides, Gorlock's behavior is obviously very learned and unnatural.
To me, this is my normal. I didn't choose it. If I think like, oh, like, you know what? Like, I like these hair extensions because they look good and because it's feminine. My energy is feminine. I hope I'm saying that right.
Okay.
But still, like, it's to me that these choices, it's not like I went out of my way and be like, you know what? I'm gonna wake up today and I'm gonna be a fucking bitch. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna present female. Yeah, technically
You went out of your way to do those things.
Technically,
You
I
go out
was
of your way to
already
get a
doing
haircut.
them. I was already doing them from the very beginning. Why did I stop doing it? Because of what other people think.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the original question. You said it's my job as a Christian, godly man to be tolerant because that's what Christians are supposed to do. My original question is God tolerant?
I think it's your job to mind your business.
No, my question to you is God tolerant? You projected
Yeah,
all of these
I would say God
values-
is tolerant.
Okay, so
you gonna educate me?
in Genesis, yes,
Go ahead.
I will. I will educate you on exactly what the Word of God says. In Genesis, it says that when God created mankind, he made them male and female. And in Leviticus, it says for a male to have sexual relations with another man as he would with a woman, that is an abomination in God's eyes and is worthy of being put to death.
How many times has the Bible been translated?
Is this correct?
How many times has the
As
Bible
an
been
Orthodox Jew,
translated?
is this correct?
Can you let me respond if you're going to make a statement to me before you bring someone else into it, so I don't forget what I'm going to say?
I want to hear what you have to say, but this is correct, is it not?
Just for the record, people who believe in Jesus should not have to defer to people who don't believe in Jesus for credibility on this matter. Sexual acts between men being wrong is a point that is not only articulated specifically in the Old Testament, but is reiterated in the New Testament as well. Anytime someone thinks there is some sort of serious difference between the morality of the New Testament and the morality of the Old Testament, they're saying this because they've been lied to. They've been deceived, like Keeko has.
I don't know what the words are. I don't know what Leviticus would be in Hebrew, because like that's how I learned everything in Hebrew. But the biggest thing that we harp on in Judaism is a man should not lie in bed with another man, and then we take that to mean don't.
Do you
be
guys
gay.
know that scripture was changed so many times though? Let me finish my
This is a
statement before
point
you
that
start
people
talking.
bring
Let
up
me
all
finish
the
my
time, and
statement
it's
before
not
you start
true.
talking. Let me finish
It's
my
not
statement
true.
before you interrupt me. Thank you.
You're
So-
making falsehoods, but go on.
I feel like you should let her finish.
Thank
just let her
you. So
finish.
the Bible has been translated. Obviously, that's not a falsehood. It was not written in English, was it? No. Do you know Latin?
It wasn't written in Latin.
Okay,
either.
whatever was
Aramaic.
written. Oh yes. Okay, it was been.
Aramaic,
my whole point
Greek,
is.
and Hebrew.
Fucking let me finish.
You're
Jesus
trying to educate
Christ.
me on the Bible,
okay,
but
let
you
me
don't
finish.
even
Do
have
it
the
after.
most basic facts
Do it
straight.
fucking after.
You
Let
don't
me
have the
finish.
most basic
Let
facts
me
straight.
finish.
Go on.
You keep interrupting me, but you get so mad when someone interrupts
I'm
you.
not mad at all.
Do you see how this is just all about power and control? She's banging her fists on the table like a child.
Go on. You're just stating falsehoods and presenting yourself
your
as an
forehead
authority.
wrinkles are giving you away. So
Okay,
maybe get some Botox.
continue
Maybe
to
get some
ad
Botox.
hominem
Oh,
me.
you brought them back down.
Continue to ad
okay.
hominem me.
So what I was saying is the Bible has been rewritten so many times.
False.
It's been translated so many times.
Faithfully and accurately.
Can you tell him
Okay,
to stop
let
fucking
her
interrupting me?
finish. Like,
He's
she
interrupting
let
every
you.
word I say, dude.
Okay, just continue.
Like
Go
everything
ahead.
I talk, he's interrupting every word. If I do that, you would get on my case.
You both interrupt. It's a conversation. Just go ahead. Go ahead, Keeko.
The Bible has been translated multiple times, and there is proof and evidence stating that most of those translations from those scriptures, they were actually saying a man should not lay with a child. It was not man and man. A lot of things have been translated because there's so much P word that runs through the church that they do things. Oh, are we talking like that? It's not in the Vatican. There's not. We don't have these things.
Hebrew.
happening?
I'm sorry, I
know where
can't
you-
listen to that false. I learned the Bible in the original language that it was written. I learned in Aramaic and I learned in Hebrew, and it's never a child. It's a man should not lay in bed with another man. And so Jews don't even share beds. Like on sleepaway trips, if we went on overnight, Jews, 2 guys are not allowed to even share a bed for a sleepover because it's that serious that it also even more so means that you should not do anything gay. But the in the church, that's a whole different issue, I think, than this specific issue of like, is being gay right or wrong, is being trans.
Let's
My whole
stay
point.
away from
okay.
that
Anyways,
topic,
my whole.
guys, but go
thank
ahead,
you for
Keeko.
your information with that. I've read things that differ even in church. The churches I've gone to have said things that differ. So I would like to talk more about you with that.
Keiko's not willing to challenge her on this because she's not a white Christian male.
But overall, my whole thing is I don't think in God's light would he want you sitting here shaming people more for what they're doing. What they're doing is not affecting you in your life. So why don't you just mind your fucking business instead of spewing hate on a podcast with so much influence on people? Let them live their lives.
Okay,
Just let
so
them live.
so just really
Why do you
one
care
quick-
so much? Why does it bother you so much? Are
one
you
quick
attracted
thing,
to them
one
and it
quick
makes you
thing,
feel
one
some
quick
type of
thing.
way?
No.
Keeko has run through every single shaming tactic in a woman's playbook. Oh, you have a problem with these people? Well, maybe you're actually repressed and you really want to screw Gorlock deep down. When a woman's losing an argument, she will just resort to attacking your sexuality, regardless of topic or circumstance. This really just goes to show what a manipulative and evil person Keeko is being in this video right now.
Is that what it
Chase,
is?
Chase,
You
one
seem
quick
you
thing.
seem a little
I'm
more
going
bothered.
I'm going to respond to that, but Brian, go ahead.
One quick thing. So I would like to try to direct the conversation. I mean, we can have a theological discussion about
No,
what the Bible
before
says,
you
but
do that, this is not about me shaming people. This is not about me doing anything like you just described. I stated biological facts, and you have a problem with me stating biological facts. And the facts that I stated is for a man to have sex with a trans woman, he would be having sex with a biological male, which is that is what I said. That is all I've ever said. I haven't sat on this podcast shaming people, being hateful towards people. I've stated very basic facts. And you sit on the other side and you're like, you can't do that as the supposed godly Christian man. You need to be tolerant towards people.
Chase has even gone so far as to entertain Gorlock by using feminine pronouns for this person. And on the one hand, I get it, right? This is not, YouTube will do some things to you if you don't say certain things, if you know what I mean. We have to mince our words, but still, that is going above and beyond. Chase is really almost compromising his own values in doing that, purely for the sake of politeness. That is how accommodating Chase has been. Keeko has no basis on which to be offended.
It is our job as Christians to align ourselves with the Word of God. It is also our job to, as Jesus said, make disciples of the nations and to share the Word of God. And you make all these statements about Chase. You can't be judgmental towards people. Jesus told us we are to judge. We are in this life to judge with righteous judgment, and whatever judgment we apply towards others, we will be judged by that exact same standard with which we judge others. It's not a Christian's job to just walk around the world and be tolerant. It's a Christian's job to combat evil and to combat falsehoods. Okay, and for you to say, oh, it's so hateful and intolerant, and you're trying to shame people who want to make these decisions, it's none of these things. I'm simply speaking truth.
Let's see what Christ himself, Yeshua the Messiah, said about a person living an immoral lifestyle. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. A pagan or a tax collector. That doesn't sound very tolerant to me. Now how about this from Paul's letter to the church in Corinth? I wrote to you in my letter not to associate with sexually immoral people, not at all meaning the people of this world who are immoral, or the greedy and the swindlers, or idolaters. In that case, you would have to leave this world. But now I am writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but is sexually immoral, or greedy, or an idolater, or slanderer, a drunkard, or swindler. Do not even eat with such people. What business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? And for the record, both Keeko and Gorlock say that they are believers.
May I add to that as well, that part of what your explanation was that the Bible has been mistranslated over thousands of years, and that it's this game of telephone and we've actually lost the authenticity of the message. That's completely untrue, and it's proven to be untrue by the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I highly encourage you to look at the Dead Sea Scrolls and look at the Hebrew that people have so basically what happened was we found old manuscripts that were thousands of years old in an old cave somewhere in Israel or something like that.
In the 40s too.
In the 1940s, and what we found was that they had been saved through time in these clay pots, and it's an amazing story actually. You should read into how we found these, because some kid was playing around in a cave and he found these clay pots and they had the manuscripts of the Bible within them. And what we found was when people much smarter than me and you translated these documents back into English today, and it matched up perfectly with what we have from the Bible.
There's no way to make
right
a
now.
100% perfect translation, though. No matter.
But
I've seen
the
them
thing.
in person. I went to this
possible.
museum in the
It's not
Dead Sea.
possible.
I speak
That's
Aramaic.
wrong.
You read it, and it's the exact same text from like 3,000 years ago that they found at the bottom of the Dead Sea with ancient Egyptian chariots from the same story.
All right, for everyone who doesn't care, who's still watching this video anyways, when they say it's been translated however many countless times, most of these translational differences are like minor grammatical changes. They really don't impact the meaning behind the text itself. In other words, you could still read it and basically get the gist of what they're saying anyways.
Let's talk about the main thing, though. So basically, Chase is saying, you guys said that you disagree with Chase's statement about that
being
Yeah.
you disagree with that.
I think it's an opinion.
It's a biological fact.
No, it's an opinion.
It's an opinion.
Why do you disagree?
So, as a trans woman, there's these things that we encounter.
Wait, you gotta speak. You gotta
There's
speak.
these
into the
things
mic.
that we call chasers. Okay.
Okay.
Chasers.
Unironic, named after Chase.
Wait,
Yeah.
like
Great.
No, not.
Chase.
I'm not saying this.
Alcohol? Are we talking about
No,
that?
I'm talking about there's like they're called chasers, like basically men who specifically seek out trans women for their genitals because they like femininity, whatever.
Because they're gay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You just
Whatever. No. Let me finish. There's categories to this shit. There's categories to this shit, and let me finish. That's gay. You're going after for the chick with a dick. You want to play with her dick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but there's categories to this shit.
When you say it's gay, she doesn't get mad at you. But
No,
when I say
because
gay,
I
You
can
are
say
so
it.
ignorant.
But
You
I'm
are
saying
so
there's
fucking
categories.
ignorant.
There's categories
There's
to
no
this
hope
shit.
for you. There really isn't.
There's straight categories to
pray
this
for
shit.
whoever marries you.
Because if there can literally be a
God.
guy, let's say let's say for in some crazy world, or no, let's say fucking speaking like real world shit, whatever. Sorry.
Let's go.
So let's say let's say for you example, or let's say theoretically, I'm just using an example, okay? I'm not saying you in general, just use an example. You see a beautiful woman, she's like 5'4", she's like beautiful, and you didn't know that she was trans, and let's say she's fully operated. You find her attractive, right? You don't know she's trans. You're attracted to her femininity. And because you're attracted to her femininity, you didn't know that she was a guy. That's a completely different thing. That wouldn't make you gay to find her attractive.
Thank you.
But to have
I need
sex
to
with
weigh
her.
in.
But to go
would be.
but to have sex is a little bit more different because some men
Still
can look
biologically
past
a
the
man.
fact.
So
Can I weigh in on that real quick?
If you end up I know now you're saving yourself for marriage, but beforehand, if you found out that one of the people you had slept with actually was a biological male and
Find that out right away.
Bruh,
It's not the same.
you would
I'd
be
It's
able to
surgical.
tell.
And
It's
you
a
also,
surgical difference.
you can tell.
It's
You
not.
flip it inside
You
out.
can
That's
tell.
You can't
ignorant.
make a
It's
vagina
Listen,
in a
it's
lab.
like, oh, I
You
didn't
can't
know.
always tell. That's
Listen to
so
me, Keeko.
ignorant. That is so
And Allie.
ignorant. You can't
Bruh,
always
As a
tell.
man-
You think a guy wouldn't be able to tell a biological woman from somebody who's
Oh,
had
you'd be amazed.
from somebody
You'd
from,
be amazed.
if you're
No.
if you're sober
Yeah.
if you're
No.
sober seeing a biological
No.
woman versus somebody who's had their down there hacked apart and re-sutured together.
Listen,
bro, you'd be able to
guys
tell.
are
Listen,
something
listen.
fucking
No,
else,
listen to me.
dude.
Listen to me.
Something fucking else.
This is a little funny because initially they were not able to tell what Gorlock was.
Did you say you're trans? Wait, you're trans?
Yes, I'm trans.
I thought. Shit. We did not know this.
I did not know that.
I'm a
I
plus
thought you
size.
could always tell.
Honestly,
Apparently not.
I thought that you were trans.
Period.
So,
And honestly,
but you can still be a full-time baddie.
You can hear Keeko like grasping at straws in the background there. I thought you could always tell. No, they couldn't tell in this instance because Gorlock is just so massively obese. I was talking with a friend, and initially I had the same reaction. I thought Gorlock may have been trans, but then I wasn't entirely sure because they're literally a living meatball. And I was having a conversation with a friend the other day where he was telling me, oh, you can like totally tell that Gorlock's a man based on the distribution of fat on Gorlock's head. It would be different if they were a woman, because if you have a woman who's this weight or is this overweight, you can tell she's a woman, and it's not clear with Gorlock, so therefore Gorlock must be a man. And also, obviously, Gorlock has moobs, man boobs, not real morbidly obese woman breasts. And my response to that is no one is looking at this person closely enough. Like, your first reaction to them is just, dear Lord, this person is so unattractive and so overweight. They are so visually repellent. That's how there's any ambiguity here. You're distracted by all the other things that are wrong with them. This is literally one of the only times it has ever actually been ambiguous that a person was trans, and it's for all the reasons they wouldn't want. This is so ironic.
I can't.
You can
Do
tell.
you guys, do you hear this, God? Do you hear how
What?
your people are
He
fucking
does.
Said don't
He does.
mutilate your body.
Let's.
As a man, I can tell.
We
I
can
know.
remove religion from this conversation, but.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
You can't.
religion,
That's
religion
religion.
completely removed. All right. Last summer, I went to Thailand with my friend.
We already heard this.
There is 30% of the women, 30% of the men, I should say, convert into women, making 15% of the population ladyboys. All right? It's like a third gender because of how prevalent it is. Let me tell you, I know when they're a ladyboy. They're very convincing. They are very convincing. They get their Adam's apple shaved down. They get their jawline shaved down. They do everything to present themselves as a woman. Actually, the most expensive thing that they have to go through is getting their and so they don't do that. But let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Fucking done again, dude.
As a man, I know that that's a dude. It doesn't matter how feminine they
Wait,
present
before she
themselves.
rage
It doesn't
quits,
matter.
I want to know what specifically is making you upset.
Yeah.
It's just, I just can't believe that people.
You're upset because I
No,
know
wait, I
that
want to
trans
hear what
women
she
are.
says. I want to hear
that's
what she
not
says.
what
Why are you
I-
upset?
What I'm saying. It's just the laughing, the giggling, it's a joke to you guys, and this is people's lives. The people wake up like they don't feel like they're in the right body, and I work with kids, I've seen the children, it actually affects people, and the suicide rate in the trans community is already so high, and this podcast has so many fucking views, and you guys get up on here and just shit on them and just laugh all fucking time. It's hateful as just let them fucking live their lives.
That's not
if they're
what we're
not
doing.
choosing, if they're not bothering you, if they're not trying to trap you into sleeping with them, just let them live their fucking lives. They're not bothering you. Why does it affect you so much?
Okay.
The reason these people have such problems with self-deletion is not because other people are bullying them into it. It's because they're living in sin and they hate themselves for it. Because say what you will about Gorlock, Gorlock's pretty easygoing. Gorlock actually kind of has a sense of humor. Gorlock is not shouting, "It is ma'am," at the top of his lungs in your face. And Chase's refusal to accept Gorlock is not going to make Gorlock hate himself any more than he already does. But to wrap up, the real subtext and lesson of this video is that Keeko is attempting to use this social justice cause, attempting to pretend to be defending Gorlock's interests into exercising dominance over Chase. Keeko is browbeating Chase by saying, whether she'll admit to it or not, if you aren't willing to bang Gorlock, then you won't be able to sleep with me. That's really this whole argument. That's really the unstated subtext of what's going on here in this conversation. To assert dominance over Chase, Keeko is saying, you aren't worthy of me if you won't first sleep with Gorlock. And for a man to agree to something like that, to say it's fine to do that, is a very humiliating thing. And Keeko derives power from that, derives power from the ability to force a man into saying that. But thankfully, Chase stuck to his guns and refused. And I know this because Chase is not considered an unattractive man by any stretch. I had this video in mind actually months ago, and there are numerous instances on these podcasts where Chase is present, where you have different women commenting, saying they want a man just like Chase. They're like some Christian woman, and she's like, oh, I wish I had a Christian man just like Chase. I couldn't find the screenshots in time for this video, but just trust me, they're out there, buried in these multi-hour-long podcasts. So Chase is generally estimated by women to have a very high sexual market value. And the fact that he disagrees with Keeko, the fact that he doesn't hold her politics, her worldview, he isn't some sort of weird blue-pilled alpha, is deeply threatening to her. And that's why she feels the need to use shaming tactics, using Gorlock, the destroyer, to browbeat him into submission. And thankfully it didn't work. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share this video if you really liked it. That's the most important thing you can do in order to help this channel. And Red Channels will catch you in the next one.